Hello and welcome to Win Over Depression. I am your host, Tamera Trotter. This podcast is dedicated to those who suffer with a mental illness but try every single day to feel better. It's also dedicated to those who have loved ones who suffer in silence and want everyone to know about this debilitating condition. You know, depression is one of the most undertreated conditions in the entire world. Did you know that every 50 seconds someone is taking their life? It is truly a pandemic, and we must do what we can to spread awareness about mental health. Today, we'll be talking about mindset and how important your mindset is when it comes to really everything in life, but definitely when it comes to managing your mental health. So what is your current mindset? Do you feel as if you are now in a place where you can overcome your circumstances and get to that place in life where you deserve? Are you accepting of your condition? That's one of the first things that we have to do. Once we accept that we suffer with a mental illness, we are in a much better place to now put into action a plan that is going to help us manage our care. Self-care is also the key to feeling better. Every morning you should get up, take a shower, don't stay in bed. Make sure you have a plan for the day. Eat a healthy breakfast. Make sure that you're getting in a lot of protein. Make sure you're eating leafy vegetables. Stay away from candy and sugary drinks. That's one of the things that you can do to practice self-care when it comes to managing your mental health. Set realistic goals. Break tasks into smaller, manageable steps, and make sure that you are able to achieve the realistic goals that you have set for yourself. Remember to celebrate the small wins. Engage in some activities that bring you joy and give you a sense of accomplishment. It's so important that we also focus on the present. When we focus on the future and what we think the future may entail for us, it sometimes makes us sad, but we can never know what the future will bring because we can't determine that. We have to live in the present moment, deal with whatever is in front of us. Sure, we can plan for the future, but we should not be so focused on the future that we cannot focus on what is in front of us. We have to be patient and persistent. We have to make sure that when we are managing our mindset, that we are not surrounding ourselves with people who exude negativity. I know it seems like a laundry list, but there are so many things that we need to continue to do in order to keep our depression at bay. We need to limit or completely take out alcohol. If you can just limit it, it's going to help you. But if you can reduce it immensely, you're going to feel that much better. How about your sleeping? Are you able to sleep? Getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep every single night is essential. And that is why I wanted to share with you that Win Over Depression is currently on TikTok. And on Monday, February 26th, we will have a live and free webinar. In order to register, all you have to do is go to the Win Over Depression TikTok page, and on my bio, you will see a link that says Pensight, PENSIGHT.com. Click on that link and it will take you to register for the webinar. There are 2 sessions on that day. One will take place at noon Pacific Standard Time, and the second one will take place at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come and find out ways that you can overcome your mental illness. I will also be sharing a brand new mental health diary that I have, as well as an ebook. So I hope to see you there. Remember, giving up is never an option. Stay in the game of life. Welcome to Win Over Depression, your beacon of hope in the realm of mental health. I am your host, Tamera Trotter. I am your companion on the journey to reclaiming joy and resilience. In this podcast, we'll unravel the vital importance of managing your well-being amidst life's challenges. From practical strategies to uplifting stories and expert advice, Each episode is a roadmap to cultivating mental wellness and overcoming the grip of depression. Whether you are seeking solace for yourself or supporting a friend, here you will find the tools and inspiration to navigate the complexities of emotional health. Join me as we embark on a transformative quest to prioritize self-care, resilience, and the triumph of the human spirit. Let's together redefine the narrative of depression and embrace a life of purpose. Today on Win Over Depression, we'll be talking about hope as it relates to managing our symptoms of anxiety and depression. So let us first define what is hope. Hope represents the belief that change is possible and that a brighter future is achievable. Hope encourages individuals to envision a life beyond their current struggles, fostering motivation to take steps toward healing. Hope can be a powerful catalyst in overcoming and navigating your mental health symptoms. But guess what? You must be proactive every single day. You must be ready to meet and greet the day once you get up and decide that it is going to be a productive and fulfilling day. It is our mindset that helps us to make a conscious effort to overcome the circumstances and challenges that we face, and remember that we can never give up. Will depression win on some days? Absolutely. But when depression wins, go to sleep, wake up the next day, and keep moving forward. By virtue of this disease, it will always have days when it wins. So when we know on days that we feel defeated, that's what it looks like. It gives us the power and the mental capacity to line up the next day for success. Cultivating resilience is a key attitude in the fight against depression. Discussing strategies for bouncing back from setbacks, the importance of a growth mindset, and stories of individuals who have built resilience through challenges is going to be inspiring. It's going to encourage you to realize that every single storm comes to an end. A storm cannot last for always. So maybe you're in a storm right now. Maybe you're not sure what your best next step should be. Sit down, write out a list of pros and cons, and figure out how you can get through this storm and be able to bounce back. There are always going to be setbacks in life. People cause us to have setbacks. Circumstances cause us to have setbacks. Unfair treatment causes us to have setbacks. But because we know that setbacks are inevitable, therefore, we must equip ourselves with the tools and techniques that are going to help us not experience an episode of depression when we feel an episode is coming on. When we can utilize these techniques, we will see less and less symptoms on a monthly basis of depression. But we must arm ourselves with an arsenal that we have at our disposal so that when the sadness sets in, when the grief sets in, when we feel like giving up, when we feel suicidal, we have to think about the cost and all that we will lose if we sink into the quicksand. Now, the truth is, a lot of times, even though we know we're sinking, we cannot help but to fall deeper and deeper. And the smallest or slightest bit of activity seems insurmountable. It's during these times that we have to figure out what to do. One thing you can do is contact your accountability coach and let that person know that you are experiencing an episode of depression coming on, and talk it through with that person so that you can put a game plan into place. Because when we do not plan, the outcome that we're looking for is harder and harder to achieve. Please keep in mind that I still suffer from symptoms of depression myself, and it is and has always been a tough pill to swallow. So do not think for a moment that I believe that you can just turn around your circumstances instantly. That would be very difficult. But what I do know is that when we make a decision that we are going to focus on the positives and expect a positive outcome, then we have now set ourselves up to overcome whatever the situation is by 75%. 75% of our mindset and how we view a situation and our outlook is the most important aspect of getting through situations and circumstances. We need to remember how important it is to apply critical thinking. So you may be wondering how critical thinking plays a role in managing anxiety and depression. Well, it absolutely does, because it enables individuals, me and you, to evaluate our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions more objectively. When we feel negativity or negative thoughts entering our mind, we have to challenge these distorted thinking patterns and question the validity of the thoughts that we're feeling. And when we learn to do that, we can then learn to develop more balanced perspectives. Oftentimes, it is our mind that tells us these untruths. And until we can challenge whether or not something is true, we will start to believe it. Sometimes when people get into arguments, they say things that they really don't mean. However, when you suffer with depression and anxiety, when you get into an argument, oftentimes you say to the other person beliefs and thoughts that you've had about that person that are not consistent or true. But because your mind has told you it's true, you tend to believe it. But that is why it is so important that we question the validity of our thoughts. You know, when we communicate with other people and just ask them the question, rather than making assumptions about their behavior, even if it's not consistent with what we believe to be true, at some point in time, when you are calmer and better thinking prevails, you will go back and think about what the person said, and you will realize that you were wrong. But here's the thing. So many people cannot admit when they are wrong. We are all flawed individuals. None of us have the answers to everything. None of us do the right thing all the time. But when we have the ability to acknowledge that we are wrong and we make amends with another person, that is how you effectively manage your mental health. You should also be understanding your triggers. Sometimes there are triggers, sometimes there are not triggers. But when we use critical thinking, we have the opportunity and the ability to self-reflect, to think about what we said and whether or not we meant it, whether or not we believe it. But when we are self-aware, it leads to proactive strategies that help to manage and avoid these triggers. We should be growing every single day. When we are being proactive when it comes to managing our mental health, we should be growing. We shouldn't be having the same triggers and the same thoughts that we had last month. If we are not growing, then we are allowing our mental health to manage us. When we are not proactive and make that conscious effort to recognize when we need to make changes in our lives, we are not doing ourselves anything but a disservice, because we should all be growing every single day. We are about to end 2024 and we're going to start a new year. And so if you were to look back on 2024 at the beginning of the year up until now, how have you grown? Did you write down some aspirations or some goals for 2024? Think about it for a moment. Did you achieve the goals that you set for yourself? Even if you didn't reach every single goal, as long as you made some progress, then that is success. We really need to not be so hard on ourselves, because life and the day-to-day grind is not what it used to be. I feel like this world is a much scarier place. People just are not kind. And oftentimes, people will see your kindness for weakness. And we have to be aware of how important it is to guard our heart. My nephew just told me about a situation where he thought that someone represented some of the same ideals and principles that he did. However, unfortunately, he learned the hard way that that wasn't true. And that's why he had a major setback. As a matter of fact, he said that the year started off going well and just something happened and it started going downhill. So remember, that was a setback that we talked about earlier in this podcast. But when we have a setback and we allow the setback, which in his case was another person, when we allow another person to throw us off our game, to throw a wrench in the program, to cause us to doubt ourselves, that is where the danger lies. Because people who suffer from anxiety and depression, it is much harder for us to make a comeback. So we must remember how important it is to guard our heart. And before we give our heart to someone else, we need to make sure that it is a reciprocal situation or relationship that is going to benefit us as much as the next person. So I don't want you to beat yourself up if you didn't get everything that you were looking for in 2024. You made some progress. You made some steps forward. No matter how small the steps were, it is still progress and it still counts toward a win. So get ready to write down some goals that you have for 2025. And I've been pretty transparent about my New Year's resolution for about the 5 past years has been the same. And it is 2 words. And those words are do better. Do better. Emotionally, financially, socially, all of that. Just do better. Because when we do our best, put our best foot forward, that is all that anyone can ask of us. But we know when we're not putting forth the effort, when we're expecting a certain outcome, but we didn't do the legwork in order for that outcome to be what we expected. If we are trying to increase our finances and we put a plan in place, but we don't execute that plan, and then we become upset because the outcome wasn't what we expected, that's on us. We have to put in the effort. We have to decide, I want my life to move to the next level. I know that I can do it. I am going to silence the naysayers who don't have faith in me, because those people aren't your friends anyway. We have to align ourselves with people who have our best interest at heart, and we should know what that looks like. So we're talking about hope, and everybody needs hope, because without hope, what do we have? If we don't feel like there's going to be a positive vision for the future, if we don't feel empowered that we have what it takes to succeed, if we don't feel like when we get up in the morning that our life is worth living and that we're valued, then what's the point? We have to always have hope, and we can never forget that joy will come in the morning. But you have to be here in the morning in order for joy to come. So for your homework, I want you to write down 3 things that you are hopeful about. And please don't tell me you don't have 3 things you're hopeful about. I want you to dig deep and figure out 3 things that you are hopeful about and what it's going to look like in 2025. If you are listening to this podcast and you are contemplating suicide, please do not take your life. Your life is worth living and it is valuable. If you do that, your friends and family will blame themselves and they won't understand what they could have done to save you. If you need to go back and listen to my other 143 episodes to get you through the night, then do that. If you need to call your accountability coach or partner and tell that person how you're feeling, do that. But do not take your life, lay down, go to sleep, and get up the next day and start again. I never want to end my podcast without thanking you so very much for listening. You are the best part of Win Over Depression, and I appreciate all of you valuable listeners who have been listening to this podcast for the past 4 years. We will celebrate our 5th year in January, on January the 5th. I cannot thank you enough. Remember, you can find me on TikTok, and I have a class called the 14 Days to Mental Health Wellness. This class is going to help you get back on track. It is full of podcast episodes, positive affirmations. There's bonus material. There is a mood tracker and so much more. Go to TikTok and look up 14 Days to Wellness or Tamera Trotter, Tamera, last name Trotter, and you will find TikTok. You can also like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, also called Win Over Depression. You can find me on Pinterest at TT Mental Health Expert. You can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn at Tamera Trotter. That's Tamera Trotter. If you would like to support this podcast, please consider becoming a patron. You can go to www.patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Tamera Trotter. And as little as $10 to $15 per month will allow this podcast to continue to grow. We have reached the international market, and we are so excited about what 2025 will bring to win over depression. Remember, you are valuable, your life is worth living, and we want to see you well. We want to see you prosperous. So just remember, giving up is never an option, and we must always stay in the game of life. See you next Friday for another episode of Win Over Depression. Take care.